Hello friends, welcome to Science with me. My name is Dr. Erica with Rosie Research, and we are over here in Scratch as we do a unit on building a Mario game. So if you want to run along with us, you are more than welcome to. You will need to get onto scratch.mit.edu and create a new project. Alright, and when we open our project, we have this little sprite here, except for we don't want to play a cat game, we want to play a Mario game. So the first thing that we're going to be doing in this lesson is we're going to learn how to upload a Mario, make our Wario move, and we'll add a background scene. So to upload a new sprite, it's down in this right hand corner here, and you'll notice when I click on this blue circle, I get some options to choose a sprite. And if you're a patron of ours, you will have gotten a whole bunch of different images that you can use in this project for Scratch. And we are going to start with that. If you're not a patron of ours, you can always check us out at patreon.com/RosieResearch. So I'm going to just first start with my Mario 3. That's sort of my standing Mario. Mario 3 is a little bit big, and the way that I can reduce the size, I can come down here into size and hit 15. And now I have a little bit more space. I'm going to get rid of the cat because I don't really want that cat to be there. Now if I want my Mario to have different costumes, I don't want to upload a new sprite. I want to actually go over into costumes, which is in this upper left hand corner. And now I have just one costume that Mario is wearing at the moment, but I can come over here and upload some more. So maybe this is my Mario jumping. I have Mario in sort of two states of walking. So I'm going to do that one first. I'll have the first state of walking and then sort of the second state of walking, so it can look like Mario walks. And then I can also hit my Mario when it jumps. So now I have 4 costumes for this Mario. I can change the name, so maybe this is just Mario instead of Mario 3. I could do Mario Walk 1 and Mario Walk 2, and then I could call this Mario Jump. The nice thing about doing that is that later in our programming we'll just be able to say Mario Jump, and it will show us this little caricature, and we don't have to think about how to connect the two together. It makes it seem a little bit more natural to us. So we have our Mario here, and now we want to make our Mario move. So we'll go to events, and we want to make our Mario move when the program is started. And to make it move, I'm going to make it move by some keys, and I want it to happen whenever these keys are pressed. So I'm going to do forever, and I'm going to pull out a couple of these if-then loops. So if, and we'll sense if a key is pressed. Let's say if the right arrow is pressed. Then I want my Mario to change in the X direction. Alright, and I want it to do a couple things. First, I also want it to point in the towards the right of the screen. So that could be the first thing that we try. So if I do the right arrow, I want it to point towards the right of the screen. Then we can duplicate this block and put it right under, and instead of right arrow, we can try left arrow. And I want it to point in the -90 degrees there. And we can start our program, and you'll notice that now when I go my left arrow, Mario goes upside down. That's not quite what we want. We want Mario to face towards the left. And the way we can do that is we can set our rotation style. And that is up here in blue, and it is right here, set rotation style, and you can do left, right, or round and round. And we'll do that right off the bat right here. So all around is what it's naturally doing. By setting it left and right, we will now see that my Mario faces left or right. So we've got some motion here, but we obviously want Mario to actually walk to the right or to the left. And you can do that by just changing like X by 10 by plus 10 or X by minus 10. That will work for us, but we want something where Mario kind of moves a little bit more naturally, and we do that with something called velocity. So we'll click down here in variables, and we're going to make 2 variables. We're going to make an X velocity variable, and because we know that we want to jump later on, we're also going to make a Y velocity variable. And that will help us do that. This we can really actually do for this sprite only. I'm not sure. Let's delete that and we'll make x velocity. And for this sprite only. That means the other sprites can't see it. Now it does naturally come up here on your screen. If you don't want to display that, and we don't, we can uncheck these boxes. Although it is nice to check those boxes if you're trying to troubleshoot. All right, so if I go on my right arrow, I want to change that x velocity. Oops, that's in my variables. We're gonna change the x velocity, and let's say we change it by 1, and then if we press on the left arrow key, we want it to go to the left, we could change it by -1. And we can see what that does. So now, when I press it, oh, I still hear nothing is happening, you'll notice, and that's not quite what we want because we haven't actually updated what our x is doing. And so we need to do that. We need to add in another little line because we need to actually add in the motion. So we are going to change x by how much my x velocity is. All right, so we can go back to variables. We'll change x by the x velocity. And we can hit start now. And let's get this little guy over here. We can pull it over. Maybe. There we go. Oh, yep. So now it's sort of doing something, but it's not really quite doing what we want. First, let's do a couple things where we set things up so that at the beginning, we always are saying, set it to 0. So let's set the x velocity to 0 so it doesn't remember something. And since we're here, let's set the y velocity to 0 too. That's something that we'll probably forget to do later. Let's also choose a location for our Mario to start. And the way that you can do that is you move your Mario to wherever you'd like to go, and you can read the coordinates off here. So I can say go to -205, -105, and that is in your motion, and you can pull out this go to. Do it right after the X. It's nice it comes pre-filled if you drag and drop your little guy in there. Alright, and now we can start, and you'll notice now he's running along the screen, but it's not working as well as I want. He kind of goes one way forever, and that doesn't work. Now he doesn't come back because I need to change this here to x velocity. There we go. So now I can kind of, but he'll just slide forever, and I obviously want to be able to stop in this game and control my Mario. So let's figure that out. We're going to change our x velocity. We're going to do something called dampening it, and we'll make it smaller naturally. So the way that we can do that is we'll go into our variables, and after we've changed our x velocities up here, we're actually going to set the x velocity to, and we'll do some math, we're going to make it smaller. So we're going to take our x velocity and we'll just multiply it by any number less than 1. And you can play around with what number you put in here and see what it looks like. But now I can go to the right, and notice it stops now. And I can go to the left. If I want it to stop faster, I could dampen this with a larger number, like 0.9, or a smaller number, sorry. We'll dampen it faster. And sometimes if you're not sure, you can just go really small versus really big. So here, he doesn't slide at all. I gotta really keep pressing it. Doesn't move as well. I kind of liked the 0.8, and I think we'll keep that there for us. Alright, so now I have sort of this ability to move right and left. Now, I kind of want his costume to change, and we'll deal with that in a little bit, but I think first let's make him be able to jump. Jumping seems important. So we've done these ifs, things are pressed, so we can do the same type of thing. We'll do if let's put it underneath that last loop. Maybe we can't get it under it. We'll put it down here. We'll put our if, and we'll sense if the, I'm going to say spacebar is pressed. But maybe you want the up arrow. You can choose what you want to be your jump. I feel like I normally jump with my up arrow, or with my spacebar. Alright, so if I press that spacebar, we're going to want to set our y velocity. We're going to want to change that, right? We're going to set our y velocity, let's say, to 10. and then that will make him go up, but of course we have to change our y by our y velocity. So we can change y. Whoop. Yep, there's change y by 10, and we're going to notice something very quickly. Oops, let's change y by y velocity. There we go. So if we start this, everything is all good, and then I jump, and I never come back. Holy moly. So before we fix this, I think we're actually going to make some earth for us to jump down onto. So we're going to pause on this Mario, and we're going to click over here on the right-hand side on this backdrops. And in the backdrops, you can code for the black backdrops, which is nice, but you can also do some art in there. And for now, we could maybe just do something that's green, that looks great, like that if you wanted to. But we also have some backdrops pieces that we can upload. So you could upload a piece of ground if you wanted to into this backdrop. Oops, let's delete that. Ah, I want my arrow. And we could probably copy paste this. Let's throw away this backdrop. And we can have some Mario grass in here. Now, I maybe want this to be a little bit smaller. My Mario is pretty small. And maybe I can copy paste these. Another tricky way that you can do this is you can actually hit Alt and then right or left click on your mouse, and it will drag, and if you hit Shift, it will always be the same. So maybe we have a couple of these. Oh, although those ones are not showing us. There we go. All right, so now what I can do is I'm going to add in a really small rectangle on the top of this, just to make sure that we can sense the right color. And so I'm going to fill this, I'm going to pick the color from here. So we'll pick this dark green like that. And we can make this even skinnier. We just want to make sure that we don't hit some slightly different color of this. I'm going to hit stop so I'm not moving my Mario. And I'll copy paste this piece over here as well. And we can make it a little bit smaller. Whoop. Here, let's just make a new one. Let's make one of these guys. And we'll just drag it along the top. I've sort of noticed that sometimes when you do these, they're not as happy if they don't have this extra big bar. Alright, so now we've got this, and then we'll do one more over here. Oop. Let's see. Should be able to draw one more. There we go. And then we can just put it down into place. Now I have sort of a little place for my Mario to go and to land on. So if I start, I actually want to start my Mario right here. So we're going to change that in Mario's code. And that was here, go to X and Y. I want it to go, my X I want it to be, or my Y, I want it to be minus 119. Or maybe a minus 120 might work. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. And that way my Mario now looks like he's walking on some land. And of course, if there's no land, I want Mario to fall, or if I jump, I want my Mario not only to not jump forever, I also want Mario to come back to Earth. So let's work on that part. Alright, so we have this, if key space is pressed, let's set the X velocity to 10. But what I also want to do is I want to control, and I want to check if it's touching something. So if Mario is touching a color, we'll bring that in, and we can use a little eyedropper to really get that perfect green there. If it's touching this green, right, then I want to set my Y velocity to 0. So we'll come down to our variables, and we'll say set Y velocity to 0. All right, and I probably want to check for this before I do anything else, right? Even before I have this spacebar pressed. So in fact, I could pull this out, and I could put this inside of here. Not only I want that inside of there, that's going to go at the very end. So now it's going to check, am I touching this ground? If so, set your y velocity to 0. So don't go down through it, kind of a thing. And then if it's pressed, we'll set our y velocity to 10. And then we have to, what we call, dampen our y velocity, right? Just like we did with the x velocity. So we will, here, to make it smaller, we're going to set our our y velocity, and here instead of just making it smaller, we actually want him to come back to Earth. So we're going to do a little bit of different math. Oops, instead of multiplying, we're just going to subtract. So we're going to subtract. We'll take our y velocity, which is our variable, and we will subtract 2 from that. And now he is coming on down, although we notice that he's still going through our green. So let's see what we can do for that. We can probably just move these two things. Let's leave those at the very end. Let's move these guys up here. And there we go. Now I am jumping. And hopefully if I fall off this edge, I fall off and I die, which is great. We can program it so that when he reaches this X, I die and I didn't make the jump, which is pretty great. All right, and then I can also try to make that jump, and sometimes I don't make the jump, and we'll probably have to change what some of this looks like. Great, so now our Mario, we've got right and left, and we've got an up and down, which is pretty fabulous. All right, so let's make our Mario walk. Now to do this, I'm going to make a variable, calling it my walk status, because maybe I'm walking, maybe I'm not walking, maybe I'm jumping. I'm going to do it for this sprite only. So now I have this lovely variable called walk status, and I'm going to, at the very beginning, set my walk status to 0. And I'm going to just considering that standing. And then inside here, when I walk to the right or the left, I'm going to set my walk status to 1. And I can do that on both of these, because that will both be walking. And then, and Y, I could, if I am jumping, I could set my walk status to 2. So I have 3 options for my walk status, and if I decided anything else, I could also add those options in, which is what's nice about making this walk status a 0, 1, 2 versus a true or false thing. So now we're going to do another event, and this will also be a forever loop because I want it to be walking sort of forever. We're going to want it to stop, but we will fix that after. So forever, if my walk status is equal to 1, so I'm going to look here and I'm going to pick out the equals, and I can go to my variables and I can say if my walk status is equal to 1, then I want to change my costumes. So then I'm going to go to my looks and I'm going to switch costume, and I'll do Mario Walk 1, and I can wait, and maybe I wait for a small amount of time, like 0.1 seconds, and I'll switch my costume to Mario Walk 2. And then again, I'm going to want to wait 0.1 seconds there. Now, if the walk is 2, then I'm jumping. This will go underneath that whole if loop, so it's all in a loop by itself. I'll pull out my operator for equals, and so if my walk status equals 2, I'm actually jumping. So I want to switch my costume to Mario jumping. And then if my walk status is 0, maybe we should put that at the very top. If, oop, nope, we don't want it around it. We want it like that. There we go. If my walk status is 0, that means I am standing. So if my walk status equals 0, I want to switch to my costume where Mario is just standing. All right, and we should see very instantly when we start, my Mario is standing like that. Now I can walk. It's got this great little walk, but you'll notice he keeps walking even while I'm not doing what I want it to do. And we can change what this walk looks like pretty easily in our costumes. But first we want to deal with the fact that Mario never stops walking, which is kind of funny. So the way that we can do that is we can come over here and we need a new thing about how to change my walk values. So basically, at the very beginning of our program, we set our walk status to 0, and then the entire time I set it to 1, let's say, and then my walk status is at 1. I never set it back to 0. So I'm going to need to set it back to 0 when the walking is over. So we need to sense if our walking is over. So if, and we can look at our x velocity here as we do this. So we can look at our x velocity, and you'll notice that when he's not walking, it kind of goes to 0. But it kind of goes really slow to 0. So I could make a cutoff, and I could say that if the x velocity is less than some cutoff, so let's say if the x velocity is less than 0.1, then let's set our walk status to 0. And notice Mario instantly stopped, so I can hit run, and I can walk in one direction, and Mario will stop. But it doesn't start back up. Alright, so he'll stop, but he doesn't start up when I go to the left, which is kind of a bummer. So let's fix that. Alright, so our Mario doesn't walk when we go to the left anymore because the left is always less than 0.1. Our x velocity would always be negative there. So what we can do to fix that is we can change this guy. We'll do x squared. So we'll do our x velocity times our x velocity, and that needs to be less than 0.1. We can put that in here and run our program, and walks to the left and to the right. Now we can change this threshold if we want him to sort of stop walking more quickly. Just like that. Fabulous. So now we've got a standing Mario and a walking Mario, and now we also want to make our Mario jump. And let's see, when we have our walk status 2, Mario should change costume to jumping. Let's see. Now I'm realizing that by putting this if statement down here, we're sort of making it so that he can't jump. So let's make a new variable, and we'll call that jump. And then we can delete this part where we're going to try to jump. And we can say here that if we jump, we can set it to 1. Alright, so let's set our jump status to 0 initially. And then in our Y, where we're touching the color and we're checking things, we can set our jump to 1. And we could do, probably we'll need to do a similar thing to set jump back to 0, where if our Y velocity squared is less than a certain number, which means we're standing still in Y, that we don't have our little jump guy on. So here we can add in another if, and that would be if our jump equals 1. And let's see, variables. If our jump equals 1, then we want to switch our costume to our Mario jump. We can go, and now we can see that he jumps, but we're going to want him to stand when that he's back on the ground. And so what we can do here is let's copy this whole brick and we'll put it at the bottom, and instead of doing x velocity and y velocity, we can delete those items and we'll put y velocities in here. Oops. Let's undo that. We'll pull this out. So if our y velocity squared is less than a certain number, let's say 0.5, we can set our walk status to 0, or we could also probably just change, let's see if we can just change the looks to our Mario standing. So here we go. Oh, no, it doesn't quite do that. Let's look at what our Y variable is doing. Right down here. And, oops. Uh-oh. There we go. Let's hit run. I'm not sure why that one is not switching the costume back. Oh, wait, because we switched it to Mario Jump, not Mario Walk. There we go, let's see. Nope. Alright, let's check out another option. Alright, so we'll keep this if Y velocity is 0, and then we're going to set our jump back to 0, not our walk status. So we'll set our jump to 0 there, and let's see what happens. Now he's got it. Maybe we want it to wait a little bit longer, so maybe we add in a wait here. So maybe we put a 0.1, and maybe that lets him jump a little longer. Although I don't think that wait is necessary. I think we can just keep it as is. And now we have our little walking Mario, our jumping Mario, and our Mario will fall here. And you can change how quickly Mario walks by changing these variables up here. And that will, maybe you find something that you really like. You can also change sort of what Mario looks like as he walks in these costumes right here. So next time we will add a Goomba and we will make our Goomba walk, and we will also learn how to program how to stomp on your Goomba or die if your Goomba touches you before you stomp it. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye, friends.